Wellsend is a unique architecture. You can drive from far and you can see the towers.
We would never want to compare ourselves with the person that, lives across the road.
It's not just a building, it's just a place of my life.
They can carry me out in a cardboard box when I'm done, but I love it here.
I'm very happy to live at Wellsend.
Honestly, I couldn't want to live anywhere else.
I'm the head of school here at Ashburnham, and this is my 5th year in post, but I've been familiar with the school and the community for a bit longer than that because our schools had a sort of relationship to the school I came from before. It's very much in the centre of the World's End, if you're familiar with the actual site. It's situated right sort of in the middle, as it were. And there's a lot of continuity between the school itself and the estate. And the theatre, actually, in terms of the brick stock being the same. So it's got a nice sense of coherence between those three buildings. Predominantly, the World's End is the community that we serve here at Ashburnham. It's a small school. It's a one-form entry school, which means with one class in nursery reception, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which is about 220 pupils all together. The advantage of being a small school is that there's a real sense of community and closeness to it. So all the pupils, all the adults, all the families know each other very well. It's a sort of close-knit community. There are many parents who are sending their pupils here who themselves were pupils at Ashburnham years before. I don't think we've yet to have a grandparent come through, but it's only a matter of time, I think. So there is that sense of closeness to it. And of the local community knowing the school well. Many of the flats overlook the school itself, so their main view out of the window for a lot on, certainly on one side of the estate, is over the school playground. A wonderful playground that we had renovated 3 years ago, funded by Bryan Adams, the Canadian rock star, who lives locally. His children don't attend the school, but he lives close by, and he wanted to help us improve the outside environment, knowing as we do that the playground is hugely critical to a child's experience of school. And he very kindly put towards the school project initially about £100,000, but the project expanded, and he managed to put a bit more and gather a few more from people that he knew. Complete renovation of the playing field, the climbing frame. I mean, it was an absolute metamorphosis of the area. And so I feel that for the pupils and their daily experience, it was a huge transformation. Added to that, a huge amount of the local residents now have a nicer looking playground to look onto. So before it looked a bit more like a car park. Now it looks like a wonderful playing environment for children. So we are very grateful for that renovation. The building itself is quite an unusual structure. There isn't really a single room in the school that's a rectangle. They're more like octagons. And the building itself was finished in 1972. And as I understand it, it was the last part of the local estate area to be finished because it was the building management area. So it's where a lot of the plant and engineering was based, and so they finished that last. But it's an unusual structure, an interesting architectural design, sort of based around the hall, and there's sort of rooms that clustered off that. One thing that's very significant is there's no stairs in the entire building, so it's like a giant sort of hexagonal bungalow, which makes this very suitable for wheelchair users, and gives a sort of, again, quite a close feel to the building. A lot of Victorian buildings, have several floors, and I feel a bit lost within that. So we're all on one level. It also means that every classroom has a door that opens outwards onto the playground, pretty much. So especially in times of a pandemic, we've got a lot of ventilation options and a lot of outside space that we can easily access, which is advantageous. So I suppose the school being built in the sort of early 70s meant that you're not dealing with an environment that was more designed with the sort of 1850s type of child and education. So the lightness of the classrooms and the windows and the shape of the rooms has a slightly more modern feel to it. We've done a few things to improve the school building with the help of the local authority. We're a community school, so we come under the purview of Kensington Chelsea Borough itself, and so they've been very supportive of us in making some changes and additions, which have sort of brought some of the aspects of the school more up to date, which has been very welcomed and very useful. Some of the classrooms are very large. We've expanded a few of the classrooms slightly, which makes a big impact in terms of the actual teaching and learning spaces available for the pupils. The whole buildings are contiguous, apart from the nursery, which is in what used to be the site manager's house. Very typical in past years to have a site manager live all the time on site. Don't know if it's good for the site manager because they never really leave work, but definitely good for schools in case there's any issue around the clock. So they would often have these legacy buildings, which were much like a house, which you can imagine is quite suitable for a nursery because they need things like, toilets and smaller rooms. And so we converted that a few years ago. And so the nursery is still within the playground grounds, but slightly separate, which is kind of perfect for a nursery, really. So they've got their own space over there, but they feel part of the school itself. I think that any large housing project that was embarked upon in the 70s, I can't think of one that would have endured in such a way. And I'm not a huge fan of brutalist architecture, so I think the brickwork itself is very durable, quite sort of classic style, and I think that's served the test of time. It's also an interesting, the balconies and the walkways encourage a sort of communal sense within the estate itself, and the small garden areas I think lend a sort of vibrancy to it. So when I cycle from East London, and I can see the towers from quite far away along the embankment, and it's always a welcome sight, very sort of iconic and easily recognizable from even afar. So yeah, I very much like the style of the architecture, and I think the way the school, the theatre, and all the other buildings kind of link up and are sort of joined coherently with the same brickwork and design, I think is very, very powerful. I think our community is potentially quite vulnerable to the impact of COVID, just because the data shows that intergenerational cohabitation and BAME communities are more impacted. So we were very wary about what the impact might be, and we were very lucky in having not a single positive case in pupils or staff until quite lately. So we've been on quite a good run of luck, and I put that down to good hand hygiene and other protocols that we've put in, as well as having all that ventilation and outdoor space was playing to our advantage. Being a smaller school was another advantage, but we in the end had a few cases. We were quite quick with our online learning offers to get that out there and lend out hardware to families if they needed it. We tapped into Magic Breakfast, for example, who are a charity that deliver food. We were providing hot food for a while, then we're providing vouchers for families who needed it. We had a food bank based here for several weeks, part of SMART charity. We were sort of responding quite quickly to families if they let us know they were in need of something, to see what we could do. And I feel like not one family slipped through the net in terms of if we hadn't had contact with the family for a little while, we would always chase it up. Yeah, I mean, I think we're really lucky to have a theatre so close, and the renovations on the theatre have just been absolutely fabulous. had a look inside there, and it's an absolutely brilliant space, and it was in much need of a renovation beforehand. And I think the works have been ambitious and stylish, so it's great to have something so close by. The COVID situation has meant that we haven't been able to establish and collaborate some links yet, but we're very keen to. In the past, we've held performances there and watched performances in the theatre space, but theatre's always been very proactive in reaching out to us to see what sort of projects can be done together, and as a spin-off, there are also other users of the theatre who have collaborated with us, whether that's dance or theatre projects in the past. So yeah, it's very fortunate. I mean, some schools are nowhere near a theatre, are they? And we're just a couple of meters away. So it's really a good potential there. And I think in the future, I'd love for us to be able to host some of our children's performances in the space, because it's such an excellent purpose-built and also size-wise quite appropriate space to use. But the theatre's always been very proactive in reaching out to us.